Yo, welcome back to Cage Calculated. Got a great video for y'all today. Have the top 20 prospects I cannot wait to watch in 2026. I put a lot of work into this video. I've watched a lot of film. We've been studying here at Cage Calculated, and look at that beautiful smile from Steven Asplin. Doesn't that just make your day? That just snaggletooth, grin ear to ear. We're not going to make comparisons. I know I'm right next to big old Steve-O, so, maybe we're built the same. You'll never know. He probably still looks better than me, and he'd whoop my ass if it came down to it. But let's go into the video. Rules of the rankings. So I actually ranked them this time. That's pretty cool. I no longer have just a bland 15 fighters list. I actually put some effort into this one. So that's, hopefully y'all like that a little bit more. But the mindset behind this video is that all of these prospects are underneath 30 years old. Under 30 is kind of considered your athletic prime. May not be like your career prime as far as like where you're at your best, but like your athleticism is at an all-time high between like 20 and 29, at least in like basketball and in football. And that's what I watch a lot of outside of MMA. So that's what I want to kind of surround this video as, is doing a little bit of the younger fighters, seeing who's coming up the prospect rankings. The rules for these rankings as well: you have to have had one fight in the UFC. You can't just have a Contender Series fight. You need to be, active in the UFC currently, so at least one. You cannot be ranked inside the top 15. I wanted to go after fighters who were a little less known. Try to stay away from name value. I put some examples: Bo Nickel, Joe Pyfer, Raul Rosas Jr. Some of these fighters that we already know a lot about. That have a ton of name value behind them. Obviously, Bo Nickel's got a huge value with the wrestling community. Joe Pyfer's, moving up the chain incredibly quickly. And then, Raul Rosas Jr., Chewie, or whatever the hell those goobers do. So everyone knows about them. I don't want to talk about those guys more than they already have been. I want to talk about some of the people that are not talked about. But we have honorable mentions. I love honorable mentions. I couldn't fit everyone onto this 20 list, and it's insane because it's 20. But we're going to flip through this incredibly quickly because this is already going to be long enough of a video. But get your popcorn ready. Get your vape or your cigarette or whatever you want to do for this video. But Vitor Petrino is first on the honorable mentions. I mean, look at this specimen. He looks just immaculate. I wish I had a build like this guy, but he's a heavyweight. He's 28 years old, 13-2, 62% of his wins coming from knockout. I mean, you can read ridiculous power shots. Violent takedowns, and he moved up from light heavyweight. He looks like a freak already. How the hell was this dude fighting a light heavyweight? That cut must have been disgusting, but insane power. I mean, every shot just feels like he's trying to like punch a hole through you. So great prospect. Steven Asplin, I know he's on the front page. I love my boy. Set the distance strikes landed record in the UFC in his most recent debut fight. Sick. He's a heavyweight as well, 7-1. You can read all his stats right there. Awesome story, came from being almost 400 pounds at one point, lost all the weight, and, holds on to like the loose skin. He says it's like a battle scar. And him losing that much weight has given him such an insane cardio and, lung capacity that now he's just like, it looks like he's just on a bike, setting off strikes on his opponents. Just beat the ever-loving shit out of his opponent. It was so cool to watch. Just love the story. Love the guy. Can't wait to see what happens in one of my favorite heavyweight prospects. One of my favorite prospects is just a person. Markel Medeiros, lightweight, age 29, 9-fight win streak. Just had a couple of UD decisions that weren't, enough for me to put him in the top 20, but incredibly effective on, all parts of his game. Takedown defense is great. Super strong at lightweight. His KO rate is great. And then we got Iro Baranewski. If you hadn't seen that fight between him and Ibo Aslan, the first round of that fight was just like the epitome of like it was just like you couldn't make it up what was happening. Iwo got knocked down or like almost put out. Ibo almost got put out. They just back for, I think there were like a total of 5 knockdowns, or like they were wobbled each like at least 2 times. It was nuts. And then, Iro got the win, but 100% first round finish rate, that's sick. He's 7-0. I just can't put that in the top 20, even though it was such a cool moment in the UFC, just throwing haymakers. But, a little unrefined. We're going to see if he can get better, and I hope he does, just for the sake of how insane that entire situation was. Got Sam Patterson, incredibly lanky fighter. Was really impressed with some of his film. Incredibly fluid. Got a great ground game, just great all around. A little bit of an older guy, being 20. I mean, not older, but like he's 29, so he's older for this list. But really lanky at welterweight, and English fighter. Love the English, love him. Another English guy, Tom Nolan, another lanky fighter at lightweight, 6'3", tied for first in the division. Mixes up his strikes really, really well. Just impressed me, just fun highlights. Again, a lot of this is kind of my own bias. I don't have like too much, don't take my rankings that seriously because I don't have like actual analyst knowledge, but like I go off of what was exciting, what made me like spit out my Cheerios or sit there and be like, wow, like I can't believe that. That's kind of where I did my rankings. Tom Nolan, had some cool moments, but just didn't have the moments to put him in that top 20. Ray Saruya, I really, really tried to put him in the top 20. He's 23 years old. The grappling is insane with this guy, but just lost to Joshua Van this last year. A lot of people lost to Joshua Van. That's bound to happen, but got kind of exposed for not having a super great stand-up game. Kind of like went in the clinch a whole ton of times. Let me drink my coffee. Not that I'm tweaking out enough already. Looking at shirtless men, but he had, just kind of some holes in his game. He wasn't able to take down Joshua Van effectively and just kind of got pieced up. And that's why I couldn't put him in the top 20. But, he's still very effective at his grappling game. And I expect him to make some tweaks to his game and improve. And he'll be just fine this next year. And then finally, Gene Matsumoto. A lot of people had him in their top echelon of contenders. I see why. I don't see a whole lot of holes in his game. He's really, really effective, but I just didn't see anything that was exciting that was like, wow, I can really hold on to that. So for that reason, he's just outside of my top 20, but I expect him to be incredibly effective. And he actually is a great segue into my rankings, who is number 20, Farid Basharat. Farid and Basharat is fighting John Matsumoto on February 7th, so you'll see them match up. Maybe we'll flip the rankings. Maybe we'll just do that. To get inside the top 20 prospect rankings fight, that'll be pretty cool. But Farid, the reason he's number 20 is because he just doesn't have a super exciting fight style. He's a very control time heavy fighter, but is effective. I mean, you see 3.60 takedowns per 15. Doesn't absorb a lot of strikes. Submission specialist. I mean, he's undefeated, so no one's been able to figure him out yet. Just a good control time fighter, just effective. And I'm excited to see what that fight would look like against John Matsumoto. Probably the game plan from Farid is just test his wrestling, but I mean, that's what he's kind of done for every fight. But, has fought a couple of name values, but the UDs just don't do it for me. So, for that reason, number 20. Still great, though. Navajo Sterling, this is the new Israel Adesanya protege. Shout out Blood Diamond. That was a disaster. Go watch some Blood Diamond highlights if there's even a thing. It's mostly lowlights. That dude was ass. But light heavyweight, he's 28 years old, 8-0. He's had a couple of UD decisions recently, but he's still a really fun stylistic fighter. He just doesn't have those finishes that can move him up this list. But is a kickboxer. You can see 85% of his strikes come from standing. His kicks are incredibly effective. Those calf kicks are nasty from this dude. That strikes landed per minute to strikes absorbed per minute ratio is great. He has all of the tools necessary to be way farther up on this list. And honestly, I see him moving up this list incredibly quickly. But that reach, the height, everything's there. He just doesn't have the finishes, and that's all I have to see. He still has a great fight style, and I'm going to have to keep him in the top 20 just because of that purely, but need to see just the finishes come to fruition, and then we'll probably move him up. But yeah, New Zealand fighter, fights at City Kickboxing. How many names have come out of that? So very effective. Oh, man, we got the Mucinex booger. We got Torres Finney. Look at this build. Holy God. God, dude, he's a friggin' beast. And he's like 5'10" at middleweight, which is unbelievable. He's like one of the shortest middleweight fighters. His wrestling, believe it or not, he's a wrestler based on this build. I bet you never would have guessed that. Never. But lethal ground game, man. He is incredibly effective at taking his opponents down. He's ground and pound is just sickening. He is legit. A lot of people want to see him get fraud checked just because of his like goofy build and just the way he looks. He kind of looks like a blob, like a lot of people would say. So I don't know. I like the guy. I like his fight style. I like to see him just like, kind of outdo the normal like idea of middleweight fighters. But I mean, he's not gotten beat yet. He's 11-0. I don't know. 64% of his wins come from knockout power. That's just that wrestling power, man. Doesn't he only has the like 1 or 2 subs, so like that's not insane. And then the ground strikes are sick too. So 9.31. I don't know. He's lived up to the name, but a lot of people want to see him get fraud checked. And I like his smile. I mean, that's a nice smile, dude. Even though you're built like a Mack truck. Mario Pinto. This dude's like the opposite of Torres Finney. This dude has the power of Torres Finney, probably even more than that. But this dude's really, really patient on the feet. That's what really stood out to me watching his fights, especially at heavyweight, where you just see these like quick brawls where someone gets knocked out in like 10 seconds. This dude waits for his shot, and he does have the power to knock someone out and put their lights out immediately. 79% significant strike accuracy is great. He's just a good, solid, patient fighter who isn't going to take too many strikes, waits for his shot, can defend the takedown. What more can you ask of a heavyweight? And one of the better heavyweight prospects that I've seen. And again, his patience really moved him up the list for me. You see guys with power like that want to come out and just throw and try and get the knockout in some crazy highlight reel. He knows it'll happen. He just has to wait on it, and it's really cool to see. Check him out, dude. Some cool stuff. Yadir Del Valle, or might be Valle. I can't remember how to say his name. A lot of mispronunciations. Video. Again, I'm a white dude from the South. I have zero clue how to pronounce half these names, so forgive me. These guys, again, would whoop my ass. So, take that for what it will be. But featherweight, he's 29 years old, 10-0. He's a great boxer. He mixes the kicks in really well, but the striking really stands out to me. You can see that accuracy, 67%. And then we have 6.25 strikes landed per minute, and then 75% takedown defense. The dude's fun to watch. Great striking, has the ability to take the fight to the ground. Great all around, but that boxing, man, especially at featherweight, incredibly impressive, and I expect him to get a ranking here soon. I think he is fighting starting out early in this year. I can't remember which card. I don't know everything off the top of my head, but is fighting soon. Josh Hokett, the man. Heavyweight. Look at that American flag. Oh, yeah. We're from America. Yeah, brother. He's 28 years old, 7-0. Is actually a former NFL running back and fullback. Was a fullback for the Arizona Cardinals, so probably did a lot of losing there. Shout out the Cardinals. Whew. Dog crap. Terrible. Woo! But he fights on UFC 324. That's why I was watching this guy's film and what kind of made me come up with this video idea. This dude takes people down like Ray Lewis and then just beats the crap out of them. He sits on their back and just beats them. He just beats them like they owe him money. It's insane. He throws on the American flag do-rag after the fight and starts goofing off. It's badass, dude. I love fighters like this with super stupid like personalities and like little traditions they do. But 71.4% first round finish rate. I'm excited to see. I think he's taking on Denzel Freeman early in the UFC 324 card. So that's going to be a banger. And he's a smaller heavyweight. He's only like 235. So I don't know, man. We'll see if he can actually like move up the chain. But I just had such a blast watching his fight that like I have to put him in the top 20, and that's where I found him. But insane finish rate. Watch this dude's highlights. It's sick. Alexandre Topuria. So we know enough about Ilya and the Topuria bloodline. This is Ilya's older brother. He's 7-1 at bantamweight. And what really stood out to me and the difference between him and Ilya is the technical boxing that I see from Alexandre. Obviously, the Topurias come from a wrestling background, and obviously Ilya has so much power that he hasn't really had to use it recently. Watch some of the older Ilya highlights, and he has that wrestling ability. I think he has like 6 submissions. This guy has the takedown defense of a ground game specialist and can go to the ground. 29% of his wins come by submission, but the ability to just touch the body, touch the head, and then just like make his opponents think and just win the fight based on striking is really impressive, and then he can get the knockout if need be. Recently, it's been more UDs and decisions for him, but was really impressed by him, and I think the sky's the limit for this dude, especially only being 7-1. And, I'm not going to doubt it, Topuria, for the love of God. I mean, we've seen what Ilya's done. Oh, my GOAT, dude, Mick Tebek. I spelled his name wrong. I'm sorry. It's an E right here. So, my bad, oral by. But Never speak ill of Miktabek, welterweight. This dude, he's 27, believe it or not, out of Kyrgyzstan. Yeah, he looks like he could either be 50 or 2. He just looks insane. The face, dude. He's so cool. Badass fighter. Knocked out Jack Hermansson. That was a sick fight. 50% first round finish rate. 50% head strikes, 25% of the body, 25% of the leg. Can't have better splits than that. And just is a kind of a meme fighter in my thing, but like I love the guy. I want to see him win. And I'm like fucking gooning this entire video because I'm so excited to talk about these prospects. I love talking about guys who are coming up the chain, dude. It's a good time. I'm just like, grinning this entire video, but I'm having a good time, man. I love Miktabek. Miktabek just makes me happy. And for that reason, it'll be number 13. Luke Riley, big English name. He's coming up from the UK scene, was a cage warrior. Patty the Batty loves to talk about Luke Riley. And he's 12-0, legit prospect. 75% of his wins come from knockout. I watched one of his Cage Warriors fights, and dude, he had that arena sounding like, I don't think SEC football could even match the hype that was coming from that arena. It was sick. English fighters have such an awesome fan base, and it just kind of like rubs off on you where you get excited for the English fighters. And 2.73 knockdown average. He only has fought once in the UFC, but had such a great debut. I think it was like a first round early knockout. So we're going to see a lot more of Luke Riley, and I hope to continue to talk about him because he has an awesome fan base behind him and a great fighting style. Andre Lima, he's a flyweight, age 27. So when I first started watching Andre Lima, I wasn't sure where to put him on this list, but he is incredibly, incredibly impressive for being such a young fighter at flyweight. You see some of his wins, 45% at knockout, which is incredible at flyweight. 1.14 sub average, just really great all around. He doesn't have a whole lot of weaknesses. Obviously hasn't been beaten yet, and I expect to see him ranked soon. A lot of the flyweights I have on this list are going to be ranked soon. He's one of them. Flyweight's just such a deep division right now. You see the accuracy, his takedown accuracy, the defense. It's sick, dude. I had a blast watching his highlights. And another guy I had a blast watching his highlights, Elijah Smith, another smaller division fighter. Man, these divisions are deep. Look at this dude. This dude looks like a UFC fighter if I've ever seen it. Looks just ripped to the bone and looks terrifying. 9-1, 56% of his wins come from knockout, 40% first round finish rate. The reason I say this dude's terrifying, Toshiomi Kazama against Elijah Smith, watch that fight. You're going to see a head slam KO that made me sit up in my chair. I was like, are we dead ass? That's insane. Unbelievable takedown ability. Has the knockout power. Just looks awesome at bantamweight. He's 23 years old. We're the same age. Me and this dude are the same age. Make sense of that, dude. I am a failure. I have failed so far. That dude would kill me. Myron Santos, like my Ultimate Fighter guys, won Ultimate Fighter 31. Another featherweight, just fought recently, 18-1, and just really impressed me. Has really good striking ability, and actually got a submission. He, screwed me over on my bet because I thought he'd get a KO, and then he's got a submission. So screw this guy, but was really impressive, and it honestly gave me more momentum to like him just because he has more ability than just knockout power. But you can see the defense, dude. Such a great defensive boxer and striker. 69% takedown defense. 88% of the strikes come from standing. Dude's a freak. Awesome to watch. Nurulo Aliyev. So I know I always shit on the Dagestani fighters. I'm not a big Dagestani fighter guy. Oh, you don't like the wrestling? It's grappling. It's just how MMA look. I understand it's effective. I understand that it wins. I don't like to watch it. It isn't fun for me. But this guy, it reminds me a lot of early on Islam, early on Khabib. Comes from Dagestan, has that power hand that you can see from those Dagestani fighters. But the control time, dude. This dude lays on top of you and doesn't let you move. It's like a boa constrictor, and I can recognize greatness when I see it. 82% of his wins come from decision. You know how I feel about that. And then we have 2.12 takedowns per 15 minutes. He's just incredibly effective. His control time, 80% of takedown defense. He's going to move up the chain very, very quickly at lightweight. No one's been able to figure him out yet, and he's so young. We'll see what happens, but this dude reminds me of just, Islam moving up. No, speaking of Islam, good lord, Islam Dulatov. This dude has a sick story. Is from Germany, but is from another country. He's from like several different countries. But what used to be a model at some like big, I'm like caressing his face with my mouse. What am I doing? But he was like a model at one point for fashion wear, and then moves in the UFC and is an absolute killer. 10-0 in his last 10 fights. 84.62% first round finish rate. That is insane. He's one of the bigger names on this list because people do kind of know about Islam Dulatov. The cat's out of the bag, but this dude, 100% takedown defense, 4.39 knockdown average. Are we serious? He just got blessed. He's a Giga Chad and just mogs everyone in their fight. And he's probably going to continue doing that, and I don't see him getting fraud checked anytime soon. This guy I see getting fraud checked, but he is super fun to watch. Let me talk about him before I hate. He's 24 years old, so he has that cocky attitude. He's 11-0. 82% of his wins come from knockout, 100% takedown defense. The knockdown averages, all the numbers speak about how good he is. My problem is that I said like a slick fighter, right? He keeps his hands down or like makes faces at his opponent, just kind of looks like a jackass when he's fighting. And he fought like Eric McCormick or something, and he got kind of dominated in the first round and then realized like he kind of like sat up in the chair. Was like, all right, I got to try. And then he like did his thing and knocked him out. But like, he's going to fight someone who's actually like worth taking serious, and he's going to, fuck around and find out. It's going to be funny when it happens. I hope it doesn't happen anytime soon, but like, I don't know, dude. You see the goofiness and him just like, being a cornball in the cage, and we see how that ends for a lot of people. So, it makes me kind of dislike him, but I can't discredit his effectiveness and how great he's been so far. Mansour Abdul Malik. So this dude may not be super well known, and the reason I have this dude so high is because one of his bets cashed for me. Just want to put that out there. That's going to move you up the chain pretty quickly. But fought Antonio Tricoli and submitted him. This dude's a freak. He's 9-0-1. He's 28. He has the first round finish rate. He is huge. He looks like an athletic specimen. Dangerous on the feet. Incredibly dangerous on the ground. I don't know where you can go to try and fight this dude. 50% of his strikes come from the ground. 40% in standing. I mean, he's dangerous everywhere, and I just didn't see any weaknesses in his game, and Antonio Tricoli isn't a complete joke, so I was like, wow. And he was like a minus 1450 favorite. This dude has some momentum going into his fights, and, it's coming from somewhere, and it's impressive. Ramazan Tamirov is my number 4 fighter on this list. He's, again, one of the older guys on this list, being 28 years old. I don't know how this dude isn't ranked. He beat Charles Johnson. I think he just came off of another win. So he's probably, like, I'm not even kidding, number 16 in flyweight right now. But he's 19-3, 10-0 in his last 10. He has knockout power. First round finish rate's great. Great takedown defense. Knockdown average is sick. The dude's just a complete fighter. His pressure is awesome. You see how much he stays on top of his opponent's pause. But like the pressure, his front foot is always there. He's going to make sure that he is, pushing forward the entire fight, and that's what really jumped out for Tamirov, in my opinion, and I expect him to get a ranked flyweight fight and probably dominate. This guy is the next up in flyweight, and I'm not even talking out of my ass. Oh, Quillen Salkill. Want to talk about the Australian, mate? He's a minority killer. Lightweight, 826. We know too much about Quillen Salkill. I've talked about him like 100 times, but 7.77 takedown average. I mean, look at these numbers. You can't even quantify how sick he is. But unfortunately, Rangju pulled out of the fight at UFC 325, and then we have to put Jamie Malarkey in. So now we've gotten a Garthan battle. So that sucks. But, hopefully he keeps winning, and then we can put against another minority up against him and, see what happens. But, super fun fighter. Had a great 2025. I talked about him in my other video. And, has the stats to back it up and is really high up on this prospect list. Abdul Rahman Yakayev. So what really jumped out for me for Abdul Rahman Yakayev was his athleticism and his killer instinct. He had a knockout where he knocked someone out in, I believe, like 33 seconds, and his ground and pound made me like, oh my God, he might have killed him. Like, he is that level of tenacious and has insane ferocity in his fights. It's terrifying, especially at light heavyweight. Young, athletic fighter. You see the first round finish rate. You see the accuracy, 79%. Are we kidding? Like, oh my God. 75% significant strike defense. His fights have been 30 seconds long, so that's probably, like, these are a little bit skewed, but the athleticism's there, the ferocity's there. I cannot wait to see this dude fight up next, and I put him up so high because I was literally like it was terrifying watching this guy finish his opponents. It's something else, dude. And then number one, this dude is the boogeyman at middleweight. He's 23 years old. I'm the same age as this dude. Again, I've failed. I've failed in every sort of aspect because this dude is an absolute monster. 9-1. Who beat this dude, by the way? Middleweight. He's 23 years old. Look at that reach. We dead ass. 81 inches of reach at middleweight. He reminds me a lot of, like, he could be better, honestly, than Michael Morales. His reach is going to win him a lot of fights. No one can do anything. He just, if you get close, he just taps you. I can't let you get close. He won't let you get close. That reach keeps him in so many good situations in his fight. He's never even been really wobbled or been tested. He's fighting Andre Polyaev, and I expect him to be like a minus 1,200 favorite. He will murder him. He'll maul him, and I know what's going to happen. He is next up at middleweight, and I just don't see – it's not that I can't see any weaknesses in his game. It's like no one's given me the opportunity to even, like, understand that this dude has a weakness. I mean, the strikes absorb. You can see he hardly gets hit. 3.90 knockdown average. He's a monster, and the first round finishes go to show it. He fights again on UFC 324 in a week. Thank God UFC is coming up soon, but absolute unit, and I'm absolutely excited to see what he does this next year, and he's going to be moving into that ranked territory here pretty soon. But that's going to do it for the list. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, I'm not an expert on this. I just did my own rankings. So comment if you disagree with me. I'm sure there's going to be some disagreement. Or if you have some prospects that I didn't talk about that you really like, I'm sure that there's people that I missed that you really want to talk about. And, let's hear from you guys what you think. Because this is more of like I want to learn. I want to see, prospects. I want to see the prelims and know who's in the next up in the UFC. That is something I just really, really enjoy doing. We're almost done, boys. We've almost made it out of the dark ages of the UFC Great Depression. One more week. Next week, we have the fight prediction UFC 324 video. We're going to be doing some betting lines. I've got my betting models set up, so we're going to talk about some parlays that you guys can make. We're going to be doing predictions, fight outcomes. Me and my buddy Tristan are going to be sitting on the couch, ready to go. We have it set up already. It is going to be a banger, and then we're up and rolling. We got UFC 324, UFC 325. We got the Houston fights. We've got UFC 326 coming up. We got bangers. We've got banger fights coming up, boys. It's going to be sick. But hope you liked the video. Subscribe if you are interested in more of these videos. And, see ya!